I've never seen Spencer Oliver like this.
Please.
This is a man with a mission. This is a man in the mood. Wow, I see you in a totally different light. You look as if you're ready to go into battle. Spencer Oliver is on one.
I'm in the zone. I'm in the zone.
You're in the zone.
I'm ready.
You look angry. You look ready. You look as if all that training's about to pay off. What's got you in this mood?
Talking about training, I've heard you've been doing a little bit of training, actually.
I have indeed,
and
Spencer.
You've hurt your little finger or you hurt your hand or something?
You throw power punches, as you know, Spence. People need to put the pads up properly.
So you're starting to recognise the pain that these fighters go through?
I always recognise it.
You're starting to understand the pain?
I've always understood it.
Are you sure?
I absolutely do. I just don't understand ghastly sycophantic behaviour.
Yeah. I can't wait to get into the bones of this.
Spencer has picked up a bit of a wrist injury. He dropped his blusher last night getting off the underground.
We need to make sure that we consequence Spencer for that gushing, ghastly, sycophantic drivel. He's become the Baldrick of boxing.
Right, well, listen, hold on.
He's like Baldrick out of Blackadder.
Let's get to this, Spencer. Let's get to this. A lot is being made of this. The location was Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. The moment was after anthonyjoshua had lost for the second time to Oleksandr Usyk. And the gathered media were in front of AJ, who looked very dejected. And our own Spencer Oliver decided that he would verbally pick AJ up. But I'm not sure that he knew that we were listening. This is Spencer with AJ.
It's at the end, he was stopping around. That's all it was. But that fight up until 10 was dead level.
Yeah.
You was outboxing the best boxer in the world. Your stock rose, mate.
You were up after 9. You were up after 9.
You come out of that with victory, mate. Like you, honestly, you know, if there was any doubters out there now, bro, there's none now at all. No. But I know how much you graft. I know how much you want it, and the people that doubt you, they, oh, he's earning so much money, he's not got that love and desire. You have that. Listen, and you didn't come up short.
And it was to get that undisputed fight. How sick would that have been?
Yeah, but that was
You'll still fight him though. You'll still fight Fury, won't you? You'll still fight
well
Fury.
in the mix. Like, mate, that was a split decision,
and
there's massive fights out there for you. Every time you go into a return of a defeat or whatever, you adapt. You've got that adaptability, and you're still learning. People don't realise that.
So we were speaking
about. You're not the finished article.
If there was any doubt about you before, bro, there is none now.
Did you hear that? You're a rose. That's because Spencer is the manure.
You outboxed the best boxer in the world. Your game plan was perfect, and Joshua was agreeing to all that, even though he just lost. What was that all about?
Right. So what happened was, so this is the thing, right? People see a little clip, and then make their own minds up and they pick. But I was on the ground, I was there, so I saw the whole thing unfold. After the fight, Joshua done what he'd done, which was stupid. He threw the belts out the ring. He lost the plot. I think he may have been slightly concussed, and he was not in control of his emotions. One of his team should have grabbed hold of him there.
Yes.
Anyway, when we went back to the press conference, he gave a speech and talked about the Ukrainian people and how sorry he was that he'd done what he'd done, etc., etc., etc. Then went into his own story, right? So at this point, so he's had the breakdown, and we all know that he started crying, etc. And then when he come round from that, he's looking around the room and he keeps looking at me, and I can see that this kid needs a little bit of support. He's at that stage where he needs a little bit of support.
So you're a counsellor now?
No, I'm not a counsellor. Hold on a minute. Pipe down a little bit, mate. Let me get into it a little bit. You can't keep jumping in.
I'm not. I haven't said anything yet.
Okay, fine. So I decided I've gone from asking him a question to giving him a little bit of support. And I said to him, you know what? You showed the heart of a lion there. I said, for the first few rounds, you was outboxing him, which he was. And I said, and after 9 rounds, it was all level. He lost it down the back.
Where'd you get the rose analogy from?
Hold on a minute. Calm down, mate.
I'm calm.
Yeah, well, just let me finish, then you can talk, yeah? Anyway, so
where was the bro bit as well?
Hang on.
Hold on. So I said to him, after 9 rounds, going into 10, you're all level, bro. All right?
Bro, we heard that a lot.
Yeah, that was a lot of that.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I was just lending a bit of support, and that was the way that the fight had panned out. And I said, also, what all the people there didn't recognise that Joshua's not getting the respect, and this is why he got so emotional as well. All right, what he done was
not getting the respect he deserves.
He weren't getting the. He's a former world silver medalist. He's a former Olympic gold medalist, a 2-time world heavyweight champion. And by the way, hold on a minute. And by the way, he started boxing at the age of 18, so he was always playing catch up to all the other guys who started at a much younger age. And I think what he's achieved is phenomenal, and he doesn't get the respect. Facts.
What? How are they facts? That's a subjective.
How's that not a fact?
Well, it's not a fact because it's a subjective observation. You don't know how much he's respected or disrespected. Your subjective opinion is that he's not respected enough for his achievements. That's subjective. What I thought was what you did was a sycophantic load of old nonsense, and in some respects is the very reason why Anthony Joshua operates the way he does at times, and probably the very reason why he needs better people around him to make sure that the life view that he has and the world view that he has and the challenges that he has to overcome are better served by people telling him the truth rather than blowing smoke up his backside.
Why was that not the truth?
Because
was it after 9 rounds? Was the fight not all level?
No,
Going into the 10th round?
I don't think so.
Was it not? Well, the judges felt it was. I felt it was, and a lot of people that were actually over there, by the way, not watching on their telly.
Yeah.
Well, not a lot of people that are over there felt exactly the same.
Well,
so
a lot of people thought it was 116, 112 fights, right?
Well, I had it 116, 113. All right, sorry, there might have been a round out.
Don't get
I've gone a little bit.
Okay, but a lot of people. So if you go to rounds 10, 11, 12, right? Spence, to follow your logic, right? If your logic is to be believed, right? If it is logic indeed, right? If a lot of people think it was 116, 112 fights, if we go to the last 3 rounds, he still doesn't win. Usyk, he's already won the fight.
I didn't have it 116, 112. I had it on my card, and the same as the judges. By the way, one judge had Joshua winning the fight. So what I'm saying is, on my card, I had it all level going into the 10th round. Anthony Joshua said that he blew himself out in the 9th round. Yeah. He went for it. He wanted to give it, and he never had it in the tank. And fair play to Usyk, who had the engine, and he just boxed my ears off in the last 3 rounds.
My takeaway from your emotive, invested conversation, because he's your friend, and because you were emotionally invested in the conversation, which makes you not objective, it makes you subjective, and it makes you probably disproportionately imbalanced. So what you did was you gave him a speech that probably wasn't reflective of the circumstances.
No, I gave him a speech that was needed at that time.
Well, yeah,
and I felt like
I'd done verbally put an arm around him because you couldn't do that in the normal event.
Absolutely.
And if he didn't feel that he'd reached rock bottom, but after that speech, he probably did.
No, he didn't. It gave him a lot of support. Actually, I spoke to him about that, and he said that that's exactly what he needed at that time.
Okay, then.
I can't,
You know the emotion in the press conference when AJ was talking about Ukraine and what have you. Was it genuine, do you think? You've got doubts about this.
I mean, how can you have doubts about that?
Well, no. Follow the trail on, because I've already had this conversation with both Michael, who we'll speak to shortly, and Tony Bellew, where the contrived tweets were what I was really meaning, and it was inappropriate for me to say the breakdown. I think that's a combination of humiliation and embarrassment, and the reflection back on what he did in the ring. I do think the tweets that he put out afterwards are contrived. I do think that they are product management. Oh dear, that wasn't the way a champion should behave. So I'm going to make sure that people understand.
You said the press conference was contrived.
And I was wrong.
No, but the emotions that come out because of what he'd done, and obviously his head was starting to come back together. He was emotionally not there in the ring, and he recognised what he'd done was wrong. And he said he was the first to apologise and say, that he should never have done what he'd done. But things happen. I think we've got to sort of forgive him for that. I can't think that you can let that overshadow everything that happened.
I think you're right, Spencer. I think the fact that we don't make his legacy about that outburst, because if we judge people by the mistakes they made, then we'll spend our whole life judging everybody for doing things. Would
you accept, Spencer, that you lost a degree of objectivity in that exchange with Joshua? Because you were really sort of massaging his ego when he was down.
Jim.
And it was a bit of a false narrative sequence of events. He didn't really need to be told these things.
I would never have changed the word.
He didn't have the heart to say, AJ, you've lost Usyk again. What are you going to do now?
No, that's...
Did you give him a pep talk before? How you thought Usyk would beat him?
I can't use the words that I want to really use, but that's not correct. I wouldn't change a word that I said there. I think that what I said there was right. It was what he needed at the time.
But it was all BS when you look back at it.
No, what was it? I was telling him that where he was, the guy was really down. He was down low because of
that's why you did it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No other reason.
But it was a pile of nonsense.
It wasn't. How was it a pile of nonsense? Like, go through, if you listen to what I said to him, which you've just played out, how's that nonsense? It was all level going into the 10th round. Fact. Judges scored it that way. I saw it that way, and a lot of people saw it that way. So that's not nonsense.
Well, it is a little bit. It's a little bit emotive.
Well, it's not, Simon.
It is a little bit.
I think actually what you've been saying in the build-up, and I respect your views normally, and I do. But
don't point at me. Get off your toadstool.
On this case, mate, I think you're wrong. I think that you've you've misjudged what's going on here. Like, you've got to have been in the ring and been in those hard fights to understand where you're at.
No,
there.
I
You've got
agree.
to have the gloves on.
Agreed.
Listen,
if you're losing an argument, you go down to the narrative of saying you've never done this before.
No, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that because I respect your views on boxing.
Yep.
But what I'm saying to you is, I'm just saying what I'm saying is, I've been in those 12 rounders when you've had these hard fights. I'm going to give you an example, right? First European title fight, I boxed a guy called Serge Problan, hard 12-rounder. Doctor gets up.
Is this a long story, Spence?
No, it's a very short story. Doctor gets up afterwards, and she comes up to me, she texts me over in the ring. She says to me, "What day is it?" I said, "Tuesday." She said, "Say that again, you're coming to hospital." I now got a 1 in 6 chance of guessing what day it was because my head was not there because I'd had this hard 12-rounder. But I felt totally fine. But then I just guessed at Saturday and got away with it. But my point is, what I'm saying is, your head is not in the right space at that point, and Joshua's done something that he regretted and apologised for literally 10 minutes later.
We've moved on from that.
Yeah, no,
and
but
we're in a territory. My allegation would be, before we finish this segment, is that this is a man that needs to be told some home truths every now and again that will build him character.
What home truths?
Or whatever it is.
What are they?
Whatever it is.
What are they? That's what I'm saying.
I'll give you an example. Do you want 2 examples?
Yeah, one would do.
Rob McCracken. Listen to Rob McCracken in the first fight against Usyk.
Yeah.
The second one is, if he's got a strong enough corner, he'd never gone back in that ring.
I'm not saying...
He'd never gone back in that ring. And
What do you mean? What do you mean? Never gone back in the ring?
He'd never gone back in that ring. Walked down the corridor, come back and had that outburst.
I totally agree that the team.
You asked for examples. I've just given
hold
them
of
to
that. Yes, I totally agree that the team should have took hold of that situation.
And what your little speech did was move into the sycophantic territory.
No, it's
where
not sycophantic.
This guy
again,
needs
you're
now
it too much.
to reassess his life and his career because he's got the opportunity to come again.
Yeah.
Mixed views on this, Spencer. I have to say, there's Kieran in Norwich. I like Spencer very, very much, but here he was letting his friendship rule his head in that exchange with AJ, and many others are saying, look, it was great that he did what he did because AJ needed a bit of consolation after that. He needed to be consoled somewhat, and Spencer was there on hand to do that.
If I didn't know...
Objective punditry is what we want, not biased partisan nonsense.
If I didn't know him, then I wouldn't have had that conversation with him after. But because you know him, the humane side of things come in as well. And you go, hold a minute, my mate needs a little bit of support here. He needs a little bit of picking up.
The heart of a lion, Mr. Oliver.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.